He earned the invitation. In 1975, Lee Elder stands on the Masters tee as the first black golfer, 1 year after winning in Houston under threats with bodyguards on a stage that had not been waiting for him. From that single swing, more than a tournament begins. Pathways become visible, a system starts to move, and a generation gets a picture it had never been shown. Stay with me. In the next minutes, you'll see how Elder opened that door, what it cost him, and why the moment still echoes today. Elder's path runs along the margins. As a kid, he works around golf before he can work inside it, caddying, sneaking holes at dusk, copying the moves he studies from a distance. If you had 5 minutes a day to learn a craft no one was eager to teach you, what would you practice first? He chooses control, start line, contact, a swing compact enough to travel. The grind is not romantic. It is buses and cheap motels, winter ranges and summer heat. Mini tours that pay only if you win, money games that end fast if you blink. The late 1960s and early 1970s offer open doors on paper, but on the ground many are still barely ajar. He keeps knocking. He keeps scoring. In 1974, he wins the Houston Open, clean, earned, no asterisk. That victory does something a statement cannot. It prints a Masters ticket with his name on it. Quick question for you. Which matters more in your field? Someone saying you belong, or a result that leaves no room to argue? The ticket, however, comes with a bill. Letters arrive that have nothing to do with yardages or weather. Security plans become part of the preparation. He sleeps away from parts of his team to lower risk. Imagine standing on a tee knowing that every camera and every eye is looking for history and for weakness at the same time. What routine would you trust in that moment? Elder leans on the same habits that got him here. Pick a line, commit, accept. Augusta is as beautiful as it is unforgiving. The greens are fast and full of quiet slopes. The margins between a birdie putt and a careful two-putt are thin. Elder's week is less about hunting flags and more about staying inside a plan he can sustain for 4 rounds. Early aggression at Augusta often turns into late rescue missions. He plays the long game. The scores are middle of the board. But history doesn't always announce itself with a trophy. Sometimes the point is to finish, to be on the board at all, because the board had your column missing for too long. And when he finishes, something practical happens. Visibility opens files. Recruiters who never pictured a black golfer in their college lineups begin to call. Sponsors who thought the audience would not connect start to test that belief. Kids watching from living rooms and muni ranges see a silhouette that looks like theirs on the first tee at Augusta and ask better questions. Not if, but how. In your world, what is the one image that, if someone saw it, would change the question they ask about their future? Elder does more than play. He shows up between events, launches scholarships, says yes to interviews that are more work than publicity. Representation is not a finish line, it is labor. Each conversation costs energy. Each handshake pulls time from practice. But platform without performance fades, and performance without platform moves too slowly. He balances both so the pipeline grows behind him. Tension remains. Every round carries the expectation to be both an athlete and a symbol. That is a tightrope. Have you ever tried to do the job in front of you while also proving what your job means? Elder's answer is to collapse those roles into one routine: prepare, compete, recover, repeat. He lets the calendar do some of the talking, show up consistently enough, and the pattern itself says what words cannot. Zoom in on the craft. Elder's swing is not built to impress in still photos. It is built to survive travel and pressure. Compact takeaway, patient transition, club face disciplined through impact. On a course like Augusta, that reliability turns bogey into par more often than it turns par into birdie, and that is the math that keeps you playing the weekend. For anyone rebuilding a game or a career, consider this. Would you trade a little ceiling for a lot more floor? The week also reveals a secondary truth. Scorecards tell you what happened. They don't tell you what moved. Elder's presence moves staff policies, media assignments, and sponsor decks. It moves conversations inside clubs that used to proceed without counterpoints. It moves a junior who now has a coach willing to call a college on their behalf. Change here is not a single headline. It is a spreadsheet getting new names over years. Mid-video checkpoint. If breakdowns like this help you think differently about sport and access, Tap like and subscribe now so you don't miss the follow-up pieces. It also pushes this story to more viewers who may need to hear it today. The ripple keeps widening. Years pass. Results come, some large, some modest, but the present stays constant. Elder isn't positioned as a one-off, he becomes a reference point. Broadcasters mark his starts. Writers call him for perspective when the sport debates itself. He makes sure the spotlight doesn't blind him to the people behind it. Junior clinics, fundraisers, quiet checks written for travel and entry fees. If you had 1 hour a month to make the path easier for someone else, what would you spend it on? Coaching, connections, or cash? By 2021, the sport completes a meaningful loop. On Thursday morning at the Masters, Lee Elder steps to the first tee as an honorary starter alongside Jack Nicklaus and Gary Player. The silence before the applause isn't empty. It is full of memory. The first swing in 1975 did not fix golf. It did something more durable. It made repair possible in visible ways. What are the carry-forwards? First, treat access like a system you can design. Map the gates people must pass. Cost, information, coaching, networks. Then pick one gate and lower it. Second, use representation to multiply effort. If your face or name opens doors, keep them open long enough for more to walk through. Third, pair platform with proof. Be where you are visible, but also be where you can deliver results. Which of those 3 levers can you pull this week? 2 quick community questions to focus action. If you could gift one resource to a junior player who has talent but no access, what would you choose? And what single tradition at your club or workplace would you retire tomorrow to make the path shorter for the next person? Drop answers below. We'll pin the most practical ideas and link to programs that already work. So, where does the story land? With a picture that is specific enough to matter and simple enough to remember. A tee, a breath, a swing, and a visible shift. Elder stands there not because someone felt generous, but because he qualified, and then because he kept showing up. That combination, earned entry plus sustained presence, is how personal milestones become public turning points. If you're still here, you value context over noise. The next step is simple. Watch the follow-up where we map the concrete steps that turned one master's start into a wider pipeline, funding models, mentorship loops, and media angles you can copy in your own city. Then come back and tell us what you built. Like and subscribe so the algorithm knows to surface the long-form stories that don't fit into a highlight reel. And remember the inch that moved. In 1975, a single swing didn't crown a champion, but it crowned an idea. That belonging could be earned and then expanded. The score faded, the signal stayed. That is why Lee Elder's first tee at Augusta still matters.